Dead Candy. Dedicated entertainment for the dead.
Spoiler alert, Slash's Paradise encourages viewers to watch these horror films before listening to our show. Danny and Lance will go through everything, including filmmaking, dialogue, characters, and even full scene breakdowns when we get excited. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Fright Night. For real.
Welcome to Slash's Paradise. For real. That's Danny and I'm Lance, and tonight Danny has brought to the Thunderdome of Slash's Paradise one of his absolute favorites, a star on the list when we were going down our favorites and what we had to bring to Slash's Paradise in our Oktoberfest of horror films.
Like that.
It's Fright Night.
For real.
And Danny is going to bring the rain tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a tall order. Slashers, thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode. Quite frankly, this is one of my absolute favorite horror movies of all time. Oof. We are talking about the 1985 classic Fright Night. And you know what else? What a great year for it to come out, because I was also born in 1985, and yeah, I'm 37. So here's the point. I am attached,
I'd say so,
to this movie.
Yeah.
It has so many things that I love. It has been following me my whole life. Eventually, I got around to watching it, and it did not disappoint. 100% balls to the wall. I will put all the chips on the table. Any other axiom or sort of saying you want to throw out there, Fright Night is one of the absolute best horror movies, if not one of the best vampire movies of all time.
Wow. That means there's quite a lot to live up to.
Yep.
What I will say about the movie is, kids, if there were ever a horror movie history class, Danny should be teaching it. I should be along for that ride as well. This would be a part of the class. Did you want to know what the 80s felt like as far as horror movies goes? Fright Night is the way to go. That's the one movie you need to watch to understand the vibe and the feeling of all horror films at this time. It encompasses pretty much everything that the 80s, especially 1985 into like 88, 89 had to offer. It's a good one. I won't say it's one of my absolute favorites of all time, but I will say it's very good and encompasses my favorite era of horror films.
This movie, Lance, if you're already a fan, you say.
Yes.
Okay. If you're not a huge fan by the end of this, I will deem this as a failure on my part.
It's a very small gap. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do know what you mean. I do.
I mean, I gave it this is what you teach the 80s horror genre with.
It seriously checks so many boxes as far as what you think a 80s horror movie should have. Poster, the taglines, soundtrack, acting, effects, the little bit of comedy that's spliced into there, the just the vibe. This movie is a vibe. How's that? It is an entire vibe that I 100%. I am so glad that we are here in the Slasher's Paradise.
Yeah.
I almost want to feel like I don't want to get too much into it before we take care of our housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Okay. In Slasher's Paradise, kiddies, we have a little game called Slash Word. Danny, how does Slash Word work?
Slash Word, Lance, works by you, the listener and viewer, watching or listening to the episode, and at one point or any point in time, the slash word is said, which is the Slasher's Paradise version of password, where if it is said, you take a drink.
Danny is so excited. He's fumbling for the first time ever.
I am excited, but yes, that is what slash word is.
The fun part of this part of our show, Slash Word, is that we always have a special guest calling in to give the slash word to our listeners and viewers. Tonight, Danny, I'm excited about this one. He's so relentless. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Who is our special guest?
Well, if you have not gathered a little bit of a little hint there from Lance, it is true. We have the relentless one, the one and only vampire extraordinaire himself from What We Do in the Shadows. Nandor the Relentless is calling in with the slash word for tonight.
Nandor. I cannot wait to, eventually hear this. We do not get to hear this. This is only for the listeners and viewers, so we cannot persuade your drinking for this episode, your hydration for this episode. Nandor, go ahead and give us our slash word of the night.
Hello, this is Nandor the Relentless. Over 1,000 kills, but I today am bringing you the slash word, and that is fright. I am very frightening to everyone who sees me. Thank you. Guillermo, help me turn this fucking thing off.
All right. Thank you very much,
Heck
Nandor.
yeah. That was awesome. I mean, what a pal. What a chum. He's my good time boy, you know? He's my friendo.
Like you're from like Daytona or something.
Yeah,
it's so
almost.
weird. What happened?
Here in the Slasher's Paradise. No, the truth is that why not get a vampire for a vampire movie?
Absolutely. And one of my absolute favorites, actually. So thank you, Nandor, again. Please call in anytime you'd like.
Yes.
We have something else on the show called a pumpkin spice latte, which is a basic breakdown of the movie that Danny comes up with off the top of his head, usually. Danny, go ahead and give us our pumpkin spice latte for Fright Night.
Fright Night Pumpkin Spice Latte by Danny Gonzalez for the Slasher's Paradise is as follows. A teenager discovers that his next door neighbor is a vampire. And whilst nobody, not his friends, his mother, or the police believe him, he must do all that he can to stop this neighbor who is a vampire from killing anyone else in the town. Will he survive? Will the neighbor vampire allow him to carry on his secret? Or will he put an end to Charlie, his friends, and everyone else around him? And that is Fright Night.
What are you? Can't stop saying it. It just goes with it.
It's
real.
great.
All right, we have a breakdown for the film. It was released on August 2nd, 1985, with a budget of $9 million. The box office was $24.9 million. So we made quite a bit of money off of it. It's written and directed by Mr. Tom Holland, not Spider-Man currently, unfortunately. But he did quite a few movies and some really cool stuff back in the day. This is his directorial debut. And I say that mostly because he is directing this film because another one of his films had been made and he hated it because he wrote it, let it go for somebody else to direct, produce, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a big pile of not so much fun. So the movie stars Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall, William Ragsdale, Amanda Bierce, Stephen Jeffries, and Jonathan Stark. That is the breakdown for Fright Night, and now we can finally dive in.
This movie, Lance, has always been one of my ultimate business cards, you know? Like when you hand out a card and you're like, this is me. This is my information. Here's my name. It's got all my contact info. That's
Gotcha.
me. My identity is this movie. Wherever it was like gun to your head, give me a movie that, you know, is a great horror movie, one of the, you know, all-time greats. I throw Fright Night out right away. It hit me at such an amazing time when I finally watched it. But let me take you back as to when I was fully introduced, or sorry, not fully, but first introduced to this movie, the box art.
Of course.
Walking through the aisles of the Blockbuster, the all-hit video, there I go. I'm walking through and I'm looking for stuff. And I pass this poster VHS box art, and it has an image that I just can never, ever shake. I'll never get it out of my head. I would always walk. I would never rent it. I'd rent anything else because I did not know what it was. But if I can describe the image, and maybe Lance would be wonderful enough to throw that onto the screen in any point in time so you could see the wonderful box art that is Fright Night. But it is a house. And in the house is on a street. You're looking at it as if you were across the street looking at it. And the house is dark, and one light is on in the house, and a silhouette of a figure is standing in the upstairs window. First of all, I have always been terrified of anyone staring out of an upstairs window. It is a weird thing, but that is the only light that is on in the whole house. Okay, so let's just say that was it, and it just said Fright Night. Okay, good enough. But it wasn't going to stop right there. Above the house, clouds are forming all around it, and the clouds are taking form. They're taking shape. One prominent face, a fanged creature. It's got big eyes, a huge mouth with fangs coming out, and then clouds around them. But the clouds are also has part of a wolf creature, a dog creature. It's like a gremlin, whatever, a goblin or whatever. There's just like a bunch of stuff just kind of emanating all around it as these clouds are rolling in. And as I look at that, and then of course the ultimate thing that sold me forever, which I will always love this poster movie, this box art for, is the night around it. Again, that always will forever speak to me. It's as if though here is simplicity. Here is normal, which is the house. And here comes the storm. And in that storm is evil. And in that evil is, well, vampires, essentially. And if you look at it enough, you'll know, okay, that's obviously a vampire. But it's scary. It's terrifying. And I just, with the figure, the silhouette in the window, plus the clouds taking shape, and then, of course, over all of it, it says Fright Night. That's all I needed. But I never, ever rented it, Lance. I never did because I was terrified of it. I didn't know what it was. And then eventually I watched it and I was hooked. It checked so many boxes, as I've already said, but it was everything that I wanted at that time. And it has always been a comfort movie for me because it takes me back to a very specific time.
That kind of nailed it, the comfort of it. I think a lot of 80s films kind of hit that stride. When you get a little older, you get past the, oh, it's scary or whatever, like once you've had your first viewing, you've kind of taken it in and you love it. It's like Pet Sematary 2 to me is kind of in that same realm of like, I can throw that on at any point and just be like, okay, this is what I chill to now.
Yeah. You
take it all in, all the lines, everything going on. I'm so glad you talked about the poster, the box art of the VHS. It's one that draws you in. And this big shark face ghoul, or what, vampire, which it turns out to be, is what draws you in, and is 100% 80s, is 100%. This is a horror film, and it is one of the posters that would draw you in. We've talked about this before on previous episodes. There are certain posters that you will never forget. This is one of them, and this is one I have to own. one of the most expensive posters to buy, by the way.
Yeah,
a regular print is extraordinarily expensive.
Because it is so sought after, because it is so perfect. It is everything. And then it's got the beautiful tagline, there are very good reasons to be afraid of the dark.
Man, this goes into one of the fun facts of Tom Holland. The way that he came up with this movie concept very simply was, what would happen if a boy had noticed that a monster was living next door, kind of a thing. Kind of sat on it for a while. But as the movie developed, he goes, because Elvira was popular at this time. There were so many. Vincent Price was huge, way beyond this time.
Roddy McDowall is in a lot of stuff at this time, and he's eventually in this movie.
But that was what the concept. That's who a kid would call if he's like, I need a monster hunted. So Elvira, Vincent Price, movie host or monster movie host, please come help me. So that's where the concept came up. But then it has to happen in suburbia because it needs to be relatable to everybody, which ties back into the poster. And instantly it's relatable. It's in the suburban town. It's home. It's an easy, this is where most people live, right? And that's what makes it so relatable and so okay, I'm in. Oh no, he's reminiscing. He's happy. Look at this grin.
Look, guys, it's not that I'm the only one that's allowed to like this movie, but I feel like it speaks to me specifically. And I think that's what's the beauty, and that's what makes these movies classics, is that if you could be like, you know what, but that is for me and no one else. Okay, let's get into the movie for 2 seconds. The opening is just credit, Fright Night title, nothing. It's just panning on suburban town, and it's underscored with dialogue. And the dialogue kind of sounds like two people talking. I mean, it is two people talking, but it's like, is this the movie that I don't see anybody. I just hear somebody. And then eventually you find out that it's someone watching a movie, and it's our main character Charlie, who's in his bedroom. And Charlie Brewster is the teenager.
I mean, Charlie Brewster. It cannot get any more 80s of a name than that.
Charlie Brewster is a fantastic name. He himself becomes a little funny throughout the whole movie. I will say that, but let's just, we're going in and we're just being invited. And it's something. I was blessed enough to live on a second story house, and I just felt like I was going into my room. And I talked about this with Lance a little bit, but think about living with your folks, right? The whole is your parents' house. That's the whole. Your room is a niche part of the overall representation. It doesn't fully belong to you, but that belongs to you. Right? So you go in there and you're starting to see this boy's room, which has a nice little tube TV. It's got a Coors Light neon in the hanging on his wall, some posters, just a bed that's made for him. He's making out with his girlfriend. Okay, so much of it is just I've been there, where you're maybe in your room, you're having your interesting times, and the Horrorthon is playing in the background, which is what he's watching. He's watching a Horrorthon hosted by Peter Vincent, who ends up being the Vincent Price, the Elvira, the Svengoolie of this movie, of this universe. And the Horrorthon that Peter Vincent is hosting is called Fright Night. But just think about it. If you all are even close to my and Lance's age, you'll know that if you're in that moment, you're in your room, this is your personality is starting to take fold. Mm-hmm. It's almost as how you are today. Whereas as the world is the whole. So the world is your parents' house. But you yourself, you're creating your pathway, your personality. But go back to that time where that TV was your outlet. You can everything, and I just remember being dark outside, and everything was just There was nothing else. I lived in a small town. I had nothing else but to see through the TV and like experience the world. I don't know. It's just like, it was very much like gateway, a small portal into a gateway into everything else, which is what I feel. I felt so attached to Charlie Brewster's room as soon as you get into the movie.
Everything you just said, absolutely. But also like time just seemed to move a lot slower and you could enjoy those things. And I feel like so much of the movies that we talk about are the ones that we watched during that time because we know them like the back of our hand.
Yep.
But now when we have like a newer movie, we're like, yeah, it's good. Don't retain as much. Don't care as much. Like there's just so much world as, you know, toppled on us as we get older.
Right.
But back then time just moved so much slower and we enjoyed every single moment of it. You could throw a movie in 12, 15, 100, Cable Guy 500 times. And, you know, now it's like you watch it, it's like, I don't know if I have time to finish this thing, you know?
What's so great about this this flick is just how little subtleties just kind of mesh together and you find yourself like attaching to a lot of it. I mean, again, I'm not the only one that's supposed to like this. This is not a movie just for me, but even go into Fright Night as Charlie's watching it. He's watching Fright Night being hosted by Peter Vincent, and the set that Peter Vincent is on has a crescent moon that is just hanging in the back. It's like, you know, like a high school theater, like backdrop. It's a crescent moon with a face on it. If y'all have listened to anything in the Slasher's Paradise, you know I love that shit. Okay? I do. I love celestial with faces on them, or moons, stars, suns. I don't know. I'm drawn to that shit. So like as I'm watching it, and then even so then let's just put the goddamn cherry on top of the sundae, please. Can we?
Please go ahead.
He's in there. He's listening to the horror-thon. He's got his little room. It's got cool knickknacks, and he's making out with his girlfriend. Okay. Just like, let's not fuck around here, okay? Throw the chips on the table. He's having a beautiful moment, Lance. He's having a beautiful moment, a very important, a chapter in his life that is very important moment with a girl. He's in high school. She's in high school. They're, you know, having this very they're exploring each other, but even then all of that, it doesn't even get gross, you know. It's very innocent. It doesn't even get gross because this is the part I'm actually going to talk about. Peter Vincent comes on the TV and Amy, who is played by Amanda Beers, who is fantastic, is Charlie's girlfriend, stops the makeout session to say, "But Charlie, Peter Vincent's on." And he's like, but no, it's okay. I've seen him, or I want to make out with you. And then she's just like, but you love him. That moment. Why? Because I know what it's like, because I'm married to my wife who does, though she knows the things that I love. And that would be the moment where she'd be like, Danny Michael Myers is on TV. You love him, you know, Stone Cold Steve, whatever, you know. That moment just spoke to me so much, and I love it because it is perfect. It is absolutely perfect, you know. And I'm sure there were snacks, whatever. Like now it's
snacks. There's a spread.
I'm sure there was a spread, and it's perfect. And you know what? He had his window open, and it was crisp.
Oh, I was just gonna say the one thing that stood out was the window was open throughout this moment. You know, it's in October probably, even though the movie came out in August. I don't care. It's October in my mind. The wind is breezing in. You're making out with a girl. You got your horror-thon on. She says, "Let's just watch your favorite thing, which is the horror-thon." And you say, "No, I love you more." I'm a fan of both. Like instantly I'm in. I like her. I like him. Again, you said it's not going to get gross. This isn't like a totally oversexed theme right now. He's totally innocent. We're like, just keep making out.
Right.
That's totally innocent and fun. And I like both of these characters immediately. And this the first few lines.
Yeah. Hook, line, and sinker. I'm a fan. I love it. I mean, yes, it definitely tugged at some of the strings that were specific to me, but it doesn't have to be for you all. You're like, oh, actually, I didn't live on the second story of a house or anything like that. It doesn't matter. Honestly, you will find things in that opening that just remind you, it just feels comfortable. Remove that it's a horror movie. Remove that it's a vampire movie. Just live in that beautiful moment. I mean, yes, it is a pretty cheesy horror movie that is on the TV that he's watching, but still, it's not even supposed to be taken seriously. It's beautiful. I love it.
No, me too. And what breaks up that moment, man, it goes into Amy's story, which kind of just like I feel for, but I will not speak on her behalf. You know what I mean? No. But Charlie goes to the window, and you see Amy actually calculate like, this is the moment. Charlie's the guy. I'm ready.
Well, he gives a little, he has a typical teen moment where he's getting a little handsy, and she's like, no, stop it. And he's like, Amy, we've been going together for almost a year, and all I hear is stop it. Right. And then he apologizes right away. So it's like,
he's a good guy.
He's like, you know what? I'm sorry.
She's a good girl. They separate just for a moment while he goes to the window.
Yeah. He goes and checks something out the window,
but she has this moment where she's like thinking about what just happened, and she's like, you know what? Actually, I'm ready to go all the way with you. And Charlie gets distracted by the new neighbor.
New neighbors are moving in. They're doing. It's two, right? It's two folks. We'll learn it is Jerry Dandridge and Billy Cole. I might as well just say it right now. Jerry Dandridge is played by Chris Sarandon. Humperdinck. Right, yes. Chris Sarandon from Princess Bride plays Jerry Dandridge, the vampire. Yeah, folks, Jerry is the name of the vampire. Not Dracula, not Nosferatu, not even like Vlad or anything like even close to that. Not even Nandor the Relentless. No. Jerry Dandridge, which sounds like a great lawyer I would love to have on my legal team.
Sure. Another 80s name, though. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everything in the 80s was like you had to wear like a gray kind of quilted suit and you were a lawyer. Right. That's what it was.
But Chris Sarandon, folks, what a good looking man.
Yeah.
He is brand new. He not one wrinkle is on this person's face. He's got the coif hair. He's wearing pleats. He's got a gray leather trench coat.
I don't know if it's leather, but yeah,
it's shiny,
the oversized, very 80s, big shouldered, and like Dorito styled. You know what I mean?
He's a walking Dorito.
He's a walking gray Dorito.
And then there's Billy Cole, who is his roommate /
He's basically Guillermo.
He's basically Guillermo, but living contractor. A carpenter.
He's carpenter, yeah.
And it's because it is pretty much because Charlie keeps on looking, and then he basically ignores Amy. They go downstairs together because Amy's like, I'm out of here. And then Charlie's mother, Judy, is one of my favorite characters in the entire movie because she is absolutely cast perfectly and written perfectly and acted perfectly for the role of the mom. Just wonderfully done. Just kind of a little bit detached from what's actually happening. Sort of. Do you remember in Poltergeist when the mom is like kind of doing the experiments with the kids?
Yeah.
And she's just like, woo! And it's like, no, there is actually something wrong in this house.
Yeah.
That's what Judy reminds me of. It's just, she's like, Judy is in the living room, and here comes Amy and Charlie down the stairs, and Amy full on yells it. It's just like something you don't yell in front of your parents. She's like, I'm confused, Charlie. First you want to make love, and now you don't. And Judy's just like, Charlie, Amy, can you come in here?
Come in here. But it's so like friendly and bizarre. It reminds me of the movie Just Friends, the mom in that, Carol.
Yes.
Just totally clueless.
Yeah.
And just heard something totally sexual and inappropriate for teenagers to say. But it's like, come on in here, dear.
Are you all having a lover's spat?
Oh, I know. Oh, my God. Automatically talks about marriage.
Yep.
It's good to have fights pre-marriage and all this kind of like, oh, mom, like we're just dating.
Yeah. We find out that Billy Cole is the live-in carpenter. The mom knows that the house has been sold, but it's like Charlie was also like, "Hey, Mom, do you realize that we have new neighbors?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it looks like they finally sold the house." So apparently, this house had been, off the market for so long. People didn't want to buy it, and finally, here comes Jerry and Billy, the tag team, and it moves into if you're gonna have some sort of a cover story as a vampire, flipping a house is actually a pretty good one.
Yeah, even though Charlie did see them moving a coffin into the basement, I guess it's a pretty good cover.
What I'm saying is like there's always going to be dirt. There's always going to be movement. You won't nobody will think
dirt.
Yeah. Dirt. Like you're digging up stuff because you're digging up. You're digging up stuff. Bodies. You're burying bodies and you're burying coffins and there's a crypt. You don't know. Vampires do shit.
What does that have to do with moving to a house, though?
You're fixing it up. You're a flipper. They're flipping
dirt.
Yeah, well, you gotta excavate, and you gotta. If there's a basement, there's always dirt in the basement.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll give it to you then.
Well, there'll always be construction. Okay, there'll always be moving stuff in and out, so nobody be like, "Oh, they're flipping the house." That makes sense that they would take a bunch of bags full of stuff out, like debris and such, or a body.
Yeah.
Jesus. So we continue on to Charlie is just like, you know what? I think that something is gone. Something's not gone awry, but something can go. He's looking at across the street with very concerned eyes. But also we hear on the news that there have been starting to have be some disappearances,
bodies
some
found.
murders. Yeah. Which is like, if you're going to hide bodies in some trash cans or trash bags and take them out, it would be nice to have a cover up as a house flipper.
On the nose. There we go. Anyway. Okay. I don't know about the dirt still, but when Charlie's actually investigating a little bit, we finally see Jerry and
Billy Cole.
Sounds
like an R&B singer.
It does. They're kind of taking care of business. What I find funny about this is, I guess Jerry's on the roof, and it's a POV version of him on the roof while Billy's kind of taking care of his business, right?
Which is a dead body, essentially.
That's the business.
He just killed a hooker. And that's a thing. That's established right away that he is kind of looking for women of the night. Well, sex workers. He either calls them over to the house or picks them up outright, and that's who the news is describing is being murdered and or killed.
Right.
So Jerry eventually, it is seen that he does have himself a nice little dinner and kills someone in pretty much view of more or less Charlie. But yes, Lance is right, because when Billy is disposing of the body and throwing it into the truck, you see this POV of the top of the house, which is presumed to be Jerry, but the sound that it makes, it looks like he's getting like a running start.
Which, I mean, if you're on top of a roof, it is very a thick sound. It seems like very thin up on the roof, but it's and we see the POV going off the roof, and the sound of it's maybe a little critique is apparently every time Jerry the Vampire. That sounds funny to say.
Jerry the Vampire.
Jerry the Vampire.
It is I, Jerry the Vampire.
Every time he transforms, there's a synth crash. And then we see the POV go crashing into the bushes. Right where Charlie is. But then it's oh no, I'm over here now next to Billy. It's kind of a weird transition. So now he's with Billy eating an apple. Which, Danny, you found that kind of odd.
I did, because it's suggesting that he's transforming, because we all know there are rules, Lance.
Rules.
There are rules. Rules, Lillian. And every vampire movie has different rules. We know, folks, that in this vampire movie, there's going to be some set of rules that are obvious. Stakes through the heart, crosses, garlic, sunlight for sure. Sunlight always seems to be the non-negotiable. Throughout every vampire movie I think I've ever seen, sunlight, save Twilight, because that's when they glitter, I believe. I've never seen Twilight. This is just what they tell me. But I've never seen. No Twilight. I've never seen it. So, and the other rule is that this vampire is going to be a shapeshifter in the sense of he's going to transform into a bat. Bat! And transform and jump around and fly around. Okay, so in the beginning, they don't want to let you know, or at least maybe they don't have enough money to make all these bat effects happen. But they use clever sounds and such. So when Jerry jumps off the roof, yes, it's like that. Whoosh, it's almost like the reading rainbow or like the more you know star.
Yeah.
And then, yes, does appear, like Lance said, okay. Billy's always like tossing him fruit. Like, hey, here you go, Jerry. Hey, Jerry, check this out. And he's always catching it. It's always orange, peach, apple. Okay. As far as rules go, if I'm a vampire and I'm allowed to eat two things, blood or drink blood and eat fruit, it's not a bad existence. But that's not actually the rule. The rule is they can only drink blood. That is their only form of sustenance. That is supposed to be the way. But this vampire, can eat fruit. And I was like, okay, then I want to be that. I actually want to be that vampire. That looks like fun. But also the way he eats the apple that Billy gives him. Imagine an apple, folks. And then imagine like, it just turns into the letter C. The core is eaten. Pretty much everything else. It's another crescent moon, but it's just hollowed out. I have never seen anyone. I don't know if it's like a vampire thing about how you eat apples, but it just basically turns into, if it falls on its back, it's the letter U, but it's mostly the way it falls there. It's the letter C. And I'm like, okay, one, why the fuck are you eating an apple like that? And two, why are you eating apples? Period. And then Lance told me something about why it was okay for Jerry to be eating fruit.
So what happened was Chris Sarandon, who plays Jerry, made a few choices for himself, and he was totally allowed to do that. One decision that he made for his vampire, Jerry the vampire, was that he is part fruit bat.
What?
So he can eat fruit, and he craves fruit. He also still needs blood. He needs to feed off, but so he's partially fruit bat.
That's awesome. If it was up to me, I would be partially chicken fried steak bat.
It's not a bad way to go, man.
Can you imagine? Shit. Did you hear about Danny? He's a vampire. Yeah. Drinks blood all the time. But he can have chicken fried steaks if he wants to. White gravy, by the way.
White, yeah, country gravy is what they call it for
parts of the country.
Country gravy. One thing I'll say, I don't know why this reminds me. It's like if we ate fried chicken, we'd look like shit. But he's eating fruit, so maybe that's why he looks so good. I kind of said this to you.
That's it. I need to be eating more fruit.
He's got like this semi-feminine look to him that makes him seductive. One rule of vampires, for the most part, there's one exception in my mind right now, which is 30 Days a Night. But when it comes to vampires, there should be seduction. I love that lure. Like, I can lure in anybody. It's not female. It's not male. It has nothing to do with that.
Androgynous.
I have you under my control, and I like that he has that. Not only do I like that, but his look and his personality, everything about it, he can go either way. You know what I mean? Like he never does go gay in the movie, but I wouldn't put it past him. You know what I mean? Like it could be anybody.
Yeah, they kind of drop the hint. Judy says, you know, what? I hear he has a live-in carpenter. My luck, he's gay because Judy's a single mom.
Yeah.
Right? And there's just some ways that he interacts with Billy. It's like he probably, you know, but that's the beauty, and actually a lot of what fits into the culture of vampire lore is that they are that androgynous, male, female, doesn't matter. They seduce all, right?
Yeah.
They all appeal to them. They have male victims, female victims. That is definitely, I believe, I mean, what's on the surface and very much in your face is that as the movie progresses, Jerry has an interest in, one, keeping a secret, and since he knows that Charlie found out his secret, he's going to try and kill Charlie. And then two, in that, meets Amy through Charlie, and then his motivations have changed. There's more added to it. So yes, definitely wants to kill Charlie, definitely wants to kill anybody who knows he's a vampire, but wants to seduce Amy in the process, because at one point Charlie gets the police to go over because he's like, there's murders. I saw them take the body out last night, and he gets the police to go over. And while him and the detective go into the house and they're meeting with Billy, Charlie's kind of snooping around and sees a portrait, and the portrait has a striking resemblance to Amy, to so much to where the point where you hear Charlie say, "Amy, like, is that you?" And it does. It looks like Amanda Beers. It looks like her. And that is a little bit of a nugget that ends up coming to fruition. You hear Jerry tell Billy once he finally meets Amy that he's like, wow, she looks just like her. We never find out who her is. We just know that she looks like the woman in the portrait. And, Jerry is going to make definitely a meal out of Amy. He wants to do that, but I think he wants more so to make her one of his wives, as is traditional with Dracula. Yeah,
and this again was another choice by Chris Sarandon to make sure that he wasn't just another evil bad guy vampire. He actually wanted to make sure that there was more depth to his character and more on the line in the end, and more of a motivation, I guess, for everything that's going on. So this was an actor's choice that ended up being part of the script and really kind of brought it together at the end of like, oh, at least there's a reason why you still like, he kind of leaves her in the dust, like, go do whatever you want. Like, here's a stake to kill her, sort of a thing, which we might get to, but it was his choice to make it more of a thing.
And that's what I think.
Just imagine that too. One point is you have a limited budget. By the way, the whole budget almost went to the special effects. This was supposed to be 1985, right smack dab in the middle of the craze of Fangoria and the 80s era that we've talked so much about. So we're almost blue in the face about it. So it's all about the effects, the gore, practical effects.
Yep.
Is there any CGI? I don't think there is any CGI. No. This is all practical effects. So most of the budget went to that. So think about that of an actor like, I'm going to make this choice. Now we got to go hire somebody to make a portrait painting of one of our actresses that's in this. It's just, it was a lot of faith, I think, in everybody. The acting, the Tom Holland just kind of giving up, like, this is my idea. Let's see what we can all create with it.
And look, folks, there is a lot of historic presence in this movie, as far as I'm sure if you just spent time dissecting what the different actors have been in. Of course, we know Amanda Beers is Marcy Darcy and Married with Children, but Chris Sarandon, Humperdinck, and a lot of other stuff, but mostly from Princess Bride. Roddy frickin' McDowell is in this movie as Peter Vincent, which is the name Peter Vincent is a play on of Peter Cushing and Vincent Price.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, Roddy is in the thick of all of those heavy hitters, as being in a lot of horror movies in that time. It's funny because he's not as old as you see him. That's probably one of the rougher things, is that he's a host of Fright Night, and he's like, look at all these movies I have done in the past, and he's hosting a lot of his own movies, right? And then when you see him, because he's got white hair and the makeup and stuff, and you're like, okay, that looks off. It just looks like someone poured powder all over his hair.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's a classic sort of, I think there's charm to that. But that being said, Tom Holland, if this was his directorial debut, he's got another cool thing coming up in his future. He is the director of the first Child's Play.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, a lot of, like, there is importance. There is professionalism. There are folks that are, this is not going to be a B movie at all. It should be not a blockbuster, but it should definitely be one of the staples of the year as far as like, this is one of the horror movies we can hang our hat on. We'll put it up against any sort of like staples of that time.
It's funny because yet again, the production company said like, go do your thing. We got more to focus on. Just make your movie. And it ended up being the number 2 grossing horror film of the year. And I think it was number 2 in the summer as well. It was only behind Elm Street, number 2. So big year, 1985.
Big year, 1985.
Man, we're on like so you got 85, I got 88, both fantastic years for horror movies.
Years.
Like
this was meant to be. I already told you this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a good connection. You know what I mean? But
I think Back to the Future came out in 85 as well. Weird Science, Teen Wolf. You know, a lot of good stuff.
Cool times.
Yeah, cool times. But let's continue. After I take this drink.
Cheers.
All that, folks, let's talk about Roddy McDowall a little bit and the Peter Vincent character. So, once Charlie finds out that he has a vampire next to him, I fucking love that shit. I love that he's like, I'm a kid. I have no help. There is a legitimate vampire. I can't call the Monster Squad. Who am I going to call? I'm going to call the only thing that I know that can save me, which is the vampire killer I've been inviting into my home via this Fright Night, via the horror-thon, essentially. And he goes and looks out and tries to find Peter Vincent for his help. And that's the thing, right? Don't ever meet your heroes sort of thing. He finds out that... and that's what always kind of struck me as odd because, like, they don't make him like a dork-ish Charlie. I'm like, I half expected him to know better. That, yeah, these are movies. There's no way that he would believe that Peter Vincent is a real vampire killer yet.
Where else do you go after you've gone to the cops already?
I just, you got to figure it out yourself. Like, that's not a natural or a real avenue. You know what I'm saying? This
is the Tom Holland thing, the evolution of his story of like, well, that's what a kid would do. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, sure. And I love that because hell, I mean, I would love to have a moment where I'm like, you know what? I need all the help I can get. Elvira, can you help me? Yes, and be my friend forever, and I'll just look at you. But no, that is great. But once he finally meets Peter Vincent, tracks him down at the movie theater, at the movie studio where Fright Night is being filmed, it is revealed that Peter Vincent has been canned because, and I love this part, this little small quote from Peter Vincent. He gets fired essentially because he just lost all his viewers. He's like, apparently nobody wants to see vampires anymore. All they want to see is deranged killers in ski masks hacking up young virgins. And I'm just like, he said it. He said what I like. I like that. Which is definitely of the time, right? Yeah, people are straying away from the classic monsters, and that was what was so great about this movie is that they were like, no, we can make a good movie that people will like in this modern time, which is the 80s. They're like, it's all about slashers at that point. They're like, no, people will want to see a good vampire movie, and that's what they gave them in Fright Night. But I wonder if that line was a little bit of a shot across the bow, just kind of like, you know what? Fuck you guys. We're having to deal with all your Jasons and your Michaels and shit. Well, people still like vampires, and we'll show you. And good for them.
What a shot to take. In that time. I mean, you just kind of described that whole thing of, everybody wants like high profile, iconic slashers and teens getting hacked up and stuff. So what a gamble and what a shot to take. Like, I'm going to do a vampire movie. It's going to be a modern version of the vampire, but all the movie lore that everybody knows. So it's easy for us. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to explain too much because this is every movie that you've ever seen just kind of added up. We don't have to go into a ton of backstory, which we've kind of mentioned before. Like, it never really does that. I will say the mood, this is like maybe my semi knock on the movie. The mood sometimes feels a little identity crisis where it's like, how serious are we going to take it? Are we going to go 80s cheese? Or do we really think this is a super serious horror film? It just can't quite decide sometimes. It's the tone throughout. It's not consistent. And that's maybe my one little knock on it.
Glad you said that was your one little knock. because it is time.
Oh God! Except for this, I forgot about
You
this.
can't just do that, man.
I made it 48 minutes through this podcast without mentioning the last main character.
It is time, folks. We have mentioned pretty much everyone. We've mentioned Charlie and Amy and Judy and Jerry and Billy. What the fuck is this, Stranger Things? And Peter Vincent. However,
Lower your volume.
we have not mentioned the quintessential, I hope I'm using that word right, the main event, the most quoted, the super popular character of this entire movie, Evil Ed, played by Stephen Joffreys. And this is where Lance and I are probably going to fight, because I fucking love Evil Ed for so many reasons, all of which I will list right now. Not all, but folks, again, this is a actor and a character who in Stephen Joffrey's, he was in another movie, 976 Evil, directed by Robert Englund, and he is so good in that one. Honestly, these are his two. It's Fright Night and 976 Evil. But Evil Ed is the sidekick best friend of Charlie Brewster. Misunderstood, horror fan. Actually, Charlie goes to Ed for some advice on how to deal with a vampire, and Ed does know this stuff, but Ed is also like, obviously you're full of shit, but here, Charlie offers him $8, and one of my favorite quotes is like, far be it from me to deny a fool's money. In any case, Ed has one of the most amazing lines of all the times, and it is a moment where, okay, ever since the little lovers spat that Charlie and Amy are having, there's this miscommunication. They're kind of just mixing signals, and eventually they let's just say they're at a Tommy Burger, right? Charlie's there. He's trying to figure out what's going on with the neighbor and the murders and such, but it's a happening. Everyone is there. And the news breaks again behind him as Amy sits at his desk, or sorry, at the booth, and it's like, Charlie, I never want to fight. He's like, me either, Amy, but here comes the news again, and we interrupt with another breaking news about another murder, and Charlie just gets up and is like drifting towards the TV and leaves Amy there talking to herself, and it just breaks my heart. But here comes Ed. He's also going to the TV, and he's like, that's not all they found. Both their heads are chopped off, and he starts like laughing, and Charlie's like, you're sick. And Amy's like, what the dude, how do I have to make a sign? So she grabs a burger from one of the people they're eating, smashes the burger in Charlie's face, and it is chilly. It is full of chili. It's not cold, it's chilly. Yeah. And shoves it all in his face. And when that happens, it's in front of everyone, and Evil Ed lets out the quote of all quotes, the laugh of all laughs, and it goes, oh, you're so cool, Brewster. I can't stand it. And that is why Ed is the best.
Yeah. Man, I can't even recover.
You're so cool, Brewster. Like,
why? I don't understand.
It's obviously sarcastic, Lance. He's got goo. He's got chili dripping from his face, and it is like, oh, you're so cool, dude. Thank you so much.
Like, has Charlie given him that much shit for us to know that Ed is that bullied?
Well,
where he has to make a sarcastic remark.
Evil Ed is a name he doesn't like.
Why? I don't understand that either, because he's also into horror.
Sure, but like, evil is probably, Charlie's not probably meaning it in a nice way, maybe it's using evil like you're an evil person, and maybe Ed just doesn't like it, to the point where like he's like, whatever, evil, and then Ed just, you could see it affects him. He's like, don't call me evil anymore, and
then Amanda calls him that.
Cut it out, evil. But usually they're calling him evil when they're mad at him, right? or when they're trying to like really get to him. But look, folks, I don't give a shit. Honestly, that character is obviously misunderstood. He looks cool. You know what's so funny? His fashion, it has come back. His fashion is now. He's got the tapered, camouflage pants with the high tops, with the bomber jacket. Sorry, I just saw that the other day. I saw it today, as a matter of fact. Yeah. It's so funny how that repeats itself.
I think the only thing that hasn't come back is the shoulder pads or the wide shoulder, the Dorito look.
Get ready.
That Jerry's got. It's coming. It's got to be coming. It's the voice. It's the shrieking. It's the laugh. It doesn't feel natural, and it's why I do not like this character at all. It doesn't feel natural. I understand what his character, the purpose that it serves. I understand that we've seen a character like this a lot. Danny is smiling almost ear to ear. I just don't like it. He is cringeworthy.
Ooh.
This cackle that he has, I love it. Do not like it. I've seen this character before. I understand the character. Don't like the choices. Don't like the shrieking. He's annoying.
I love it to death.
Takes me out of certain moments of the movie.
I disagree, because I think he swings for the fences. He's a young actor who's making big choices, and I applaud that. Obviously, just again, different strokes for different folks. It's not going to land all the time.
Yeah.
But what I do appreciate about Ed is that there are like there are funny moments where you could tell it's the actor making choices, and he might have pissed Amanda Beers and William Ragsdale off on set. Like, he might have. We don't know. He might have been a terrible person. I don't know. What I do know is that he looks comfortable in front of the camera. The things he's saying feel like they're rooted in his own truth, and I can appreciate that. Seeing that as an actor making that choice, I can appreciate that. And Lance left at a part right in front of me where you could tell that they have, whether it's evil or jerk or whatever the hell they're calling Ed, at one point, just so you know, that there is a moment where they try to do this, we're going to prove that Jerry is not a vampire thing, so Charlie can forget about it. It's basically like a test. They pay Peter Vincent, who's obviously just an actor for hire, to pretend that they're giving Jerry holy water. It's not holy water. It's just regular tap water. They just want to do it so they can put Charlie's, mind at ease. And it doesn't go as planned, because obviously it's not holy water. And Jerry's like, you see, yeah, it's all good. And Charlie's like, y'all are full of shit. And that's fine. But fast forward, when they're about to leave, which is the funny part, is, Peter Vincent takes off. The whole time Peter's there, he's like, this is not real. And then opens his compact, sees in a reflection that Jerry is not casting a reflection. So he believes it in that moment. And he's trying to keep his cool because he's terrified. He's like, shit, he actually is a vampire. So when he leaves, he hauls ass out of there. And Charlie knows. He's like, what did you see? Tell me what you saw. And I know I'm jumping around, but I do need to say that Charlie at one point breaks my heart. Actually, at 2 points. It's when he's first trying to get Peter Vincent's help, and then eventually there when Peter's like terrified, he takes off. He says, if you don't help me, he's going to kill me. And it's just like that recognition, that self-awareness of being like, I need your help, because if not, this thing is going to make me meet my end. This man is going to kill me. Yeah. So at one point, Peter takes off. It's just Charlie, Amy, and Ed. And Ed is just walking home. Charlie turns around and goes, where are you going, pencil dick? And when he says that, Ed goes, oh, just kind of like grabs his junk and looks down like, oh, what a good one. But in any case.
Yeah, because it reminds me so much of, what are you looking at? Dick Nose from Teen Wolf.
Hell yeah.
And it's 80s humor. Like, you were allowed to say shit like that back then. It was just, it reminds me so much of all those 80s movies. Ferris Bueller's Day Off and all of them.
Hey, better swing. Better Kennedy.
It's the voice. It's the choice.
It's the Rolls Royce.
Anyway,
I was just making rhymes.
let's get to the action.
But there is action that is going to follow this immediately, Lance.
Right.
Immediately, we know that Jerry's not stupid. He's not a stupid vampire. And that is what I love about that is the through point throughout the entire film. He's not dumb. He picks up on everything, whether it's something as small as like Peter dropped his compact and now he could see, oh shit, he had a mirror. He saw that I didn't cast a reflection. I got to go tie up some loose ends, right? What happens is that Jerry follows the trio, essentially, catches Ed in a alleyway after Ed kind of, is a little jerk about it, and appeases appeals to Ed, sort of like he's misunderstood. Ed's got like tears in his eyes because he's like, oh shit, you really are a vampire. And he's like, yeah, I can give you something, Ed, something that will make them not make fun of you anymore. And it's just like kind of like you feel for Ed in that moment because he's got tears in his eyes. He's like, yeah, I will let you bite me because like I have nothing else. Like everyone kind of thinks I'm an idiot or makes fun of me, even though he's the one passing trig and Charlie's failing, just so we know. And then, right away becomes a victim of Jerry, but a victim to where he's not dying. He is now being transformed into at least a ghoul, but definitely an undead. Yeah,
which I'm curious to get to that point because is he a werewolf or is he a vampire? Or anyway, we got to get to the club scene.
Yes. There are two very, very fun songs in the club scene.
Oh, God.
And the soundtrack is the soundtrack. And we need to talk about that for like maybe 2 seconds. The soundtrack, as far as the score, is scored by Brad. I hope I'm saying this last name right. Fiedel. Fiedel. Same composer for Terminator. So... Anyway, but there are 2 songs. Good Man in a Bad Time, which is the first one. That's Jerry getting to the club where Amy and Charlie are trying to hide from him. And it's like, he's a good man in a bad time. And I wonder if it's like that's sort of underscoring what you want us to think of Jerry. He's a good man, but it's a bad time because he's a vampire. Like maybe he was a good person all along. Then the song changes when it's time to get down and seduce Amy on the dance floor while wearing pleats and a gray sweater. I'm so sorry. I, at my best, wearing my silk shirt, have always felt like, I just need to look cooler if I'm going to be able to seduce anyone on the dance floor. No. Jerry goes out there looking like a golf pro and just seduces the shit out of Amy to the song Give It Up by Evelyn King. I'll give it up. Yes, sweet honey, you will. I want to feed into temptation. Just listen to the lyrics. Why don't you? It's all right there. And it's a fantastic scene.
And then the next song that I was expecting to come up was Big Bad Wolf. But that was just my take. It felt like Teen Wolf and like, the big dance at the end.
God damn it, Lance. How long are we going to put this shit off, man? It's right in our face.
We will get to Teen Wolf eventually. Anyway, the seduction happens.
She's doing like cool dance moves, and there's a moment where they had Amanda just like he's spinning her around because it's I guess you ballroom dance in a club scene, especially to that song.
Well, they probably didn't even have the music. You know what I mean? Like, well, we'll figure it out later and just dance.
Yeah, we'll figure. Some asshole will figure it out in post.
Hi, Zach.
So she's doing a spin, but there's apparently wall-to-wall mirrors, and they're just like, let's do this moment where we could just have you spin by yourself. I.e., he's not casting a reflection.
Yeah.
I love that part because there's a moment where, he's a good man in a bad time is how they start dancing. And then when it changes to Give It Up, her hair poofs up. There's like glitter in it. Her shirt's a little bit more open. It's almost like we turned on the seduction, baby. And, I mean... If you were ever at the multi-purpose center, in Rio Grande City, Texas, during middle school.
Multi-purpose.
Yeah.
That takes me back to
Doesn't
elementary
it?
school. What the fuck? I have not heard that since like 5th grade.
I don't think I've said it since middle school. Honestly. Where's the dance? At the multi-purpose.
Oh, no.
Oh, if you were ever at the multi-purpose center, there was some, bailes happening there, all right? There was a lot of seduction happening on the dance floor. So I know what's going on with Jerry and Amy. And it sucks because Charlie has to see this whole thing happen.
Yeah, that's the bummer, right? He's watching it happening, can't stop it. There's just no getting around it. We got to say it too, is that Jerry has let Charlie go quite a few times. And now he's like, now I'm going to steal your girl. Come back to my crib. Let's finish this.
If you want her, come get her.
Yeah.
What's also thrown into the mix throughout this scene, there's some cuts too. Peter is just like shaken up in fright at his own home. It's almost as if this night is full of fright. He's at his house, and that didn't even get a chuckle.
No.
Gets knocking out, rapping at his door, and it's Ed. And he's like, "Help me! There's a vampire out here." So Peter just lets him in because he's like, "Yes, it just sounds like Ed." But it's obvious that Ed is already transformed. He's going to try and kill Peter, and Peter just kind of, because he has nothing else to do, takes on his persona of the vampire killer. I love this scene because it's like this, Peter kind of just feels like, all right, damn it, I'm going to do it. I have to do it. So if I'm going to survive, I won't do the scream, but I thought I would, but I did Ed gets a hold for motorcycle. Ed gets a cross put on his forehead and it burns through. And his teeth were at one point just, vampire teeth. And now they've turned into like, what is that fish that has the
deep water fish. Yeah.
Right. Isn't that what his teeth look like at that point?
Yeah, they're progressing. They're growing.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird transition.
And he gets the cross burned onto his forehead, and he just like falls back and he screams the most blood curdling scream ever. And I'm not going to do it. I swear I'm not going to do it. But it's obvious that he's like, shit, I'm in trouble. And he's trying to like scare Peter. He's like, the master will kill you for this, because he's got these huge prosthetic like teeth in his mouth. He's like, he'll kill you slowly. Oh, so slowly. And like spit's coming out. And that's what the thing is, what I was saying. I appreciate that as the actor. Let it all hang out. If spit comes out, right? But Ed eventually takes off. So it's all culminating in, you got to go to the house because Ed's probably going to be there for sure. Of course, Jerry has now taken Amy, and it looks like the eventuality is Peter and Charlie are now going to finally be on the same page, join forces, and fight Jerry and Billy as well.
When they come up to the house, and when they're finally ready to enter the house, it's my favorite shot of probably the whole movie. There's just billowing fog coming off of the house, and it's that great. It's my favorite cinematic moment, is just the fog coming off the house. It's like the showdown's happening. There's something in the air, and it's billowing off, but it's just such a great shot because it's an old, not quite Victorian, but it's an older, like double, probably 2-story house, but with like that little like window in the top kind of thing, like the little attic window.
Beautiful. So
there's it's like a triple decker house. So there's just billowing fog coming off of each end of the house, but it just worked out perfectly. Like I, to this day, could not tell you how they did it or how you could figure out how to get these layers and still show off the house. It was just perfectly done and a really, really cool shot.
Very Night of the Demons-ish.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah, definitely.
I forget which came first. I think this one, but
this one did. Yeah.
Oh yes, it did. Hello. But it's time. And from the first time you saw Peter at this house, he was like, Peter Vincent, vampire killer, because he's obviously actor for hire. When you see him this time, and he pretty much startles Charlie, he's like, Peter Vincent, vampire killer, ready for battle. He's just like, I'm here. And Charlie's like, this is serious. And he's like, I am fucking serious, dick.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's real now.
Yeah, it's real. It's Fright Night.
For real.
And that's what's so cool because they go into the house and they all know who Peter Vincent is. When I say they all, I mean Billy and Jerry both know who Peter Vincent is. And I like it because Billy said, Peter Vincent, it's a pleasure. He's like, oh, thank you. And when he meets Jerry for the first time, Jerry's like, And it's a small thing. It really is a small thing. But anyone who is not English or European in any way, greeting someone with an as the first thing, just doing it in an American accent, it doesn't work. But he makes it work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When he meets him, he's like, Mr. Vincent. And I'm just like, I need to greet people like that more often, you know?
Yeah. It's
had to express.
It's
What?
It caught me off guard. That's all. It's much more proper. We don't speak proper anymore.
We don't speak proper anymore. But we
properly.
should.
I just spoke non-properly.
Listen,
so.
I never knew how to spoke, but that's my problem, okay?
You caught in spokes. Okay.
So this time they're in the house, and here comes Jerry on the second floor. Very much, the staircase kind of looks like Titanic. You know, there's the main staircase up to the top. You know, it's very official. And there he is at the top. And that's when Jerry says the line. He's fucking with him now because he's like, y'all can't do shit to me. The night is young. And welcome to Fright Night is how it's supposed to end because that's how the horror-thons that Peter would host would be. Welcome to Fright Night. That's what it would say. And now he says, welcome to Fright Night. A real fucking Fright Night.
For real.
Yep. Talking about the effects, let's go back to that for 2 seconds. There are multiple forms of vampire in which you see Jerry Dandridge. You see him with just like eyes, like eye contacts. He's got maybe his fangs are out. He's discolored. His mouth is like elongated. And then there's this one. It's rough. It's like the most vampire before turning into a bat stage. His hairline is like back here. It's almost like, like the old, like at the end of like Child's Play when he's like super Charles Lee Ray. He just has like the Jack Nicholson, like one hair here and then hairline over here. That's it. Just like he's like, Amy. He's just.
If you've ever seen The Mask. The villain. When the villain puts the mask on, it's exactly the same, just not. It's green. But
I'm just an ex-employee.
That's exactly what it reminds me of. Just take
Dorian.
the green. Dorian. Yes. Oh my god.
Fuck yeah, man.
Okay, that's what it reminds me of.
But is The Mask a horror movie? So let's dissect.
Not again. Not yet. We're not there.
Okay, so it's an ultimate showdown, and a lot of times folks are taking crosses out and throwing them back, spawn of Satan. They're throwing it at Jerry, and Jerry is like either laughing at it because, as it is said, rules. We have rules, Lance. And what's the rule that he says?
You got to have faith.
You have to have faith for that to work on me. However, if you do have faith and you do believe that the crucifix will work, what?
Go ahead.
I mean, if you do believe, it'll go from, which is how he starts laughing, which is maybe where Voldemort got his laugh from was Jerry Dandridge. There's something there we'll tackle later. But if you do have faith and you do throw the cross at his face, he just goes,
what? What a choice.
He's made two big choices. Hey, I need to have a connection with this girl. Make me a portrait. Hey, I'm a fruit bat. I need to be eating shit. And now this is also, we live by the choices. We die by the choices. And the choice of someone throwing the crucifix in his face is.
Which makes it a cheesy 80s horror film, which kind of brings it back to, right, this is kind of ridiculous and fun. So let's just go along with it. And
I actually, it almost sounds like the Venta.
What's that?
The sale barn.
What's that?
Where all the cows are.
Okay.
where they also took excerpts from. I'll save that one later. For The Exorcist. Anyway, it's time. It has been time. The cross is working sometimes. The cross is not working. Peter Vincent throws a cross in Jerry's face, and Jerry laughs, crushes the cross. He's like, you have to have faith for that to work on me. Sometimes, like, the New York accent comes out.
A little bit, yeah. Right? I kind of noticed that, too. Yeah.
You have to have faith for that to work on me, eh? What do you got, dumbass?
Because he's fucking Jerry the Vampire. What do you expect?
Hey, it's Jerry the Vampire. That's funny. So crushes Peter's cross, which was a fantastic cross, man. That thing was like made in wood shop. It had girth to it. I mean, like Girth Brooks. Honestly, it was like a very thick, and Jerry just like crushed it, right? Then here comes Charlie with his little cross that they hand out. They hand out like on Palm Sunday.
It's more like it's more like a Templar cross. You know what I mean? It's like a square cross. It's all right.
Assassin's Creed over here. Here you go.
Yeah, that too. But Templars are the thing. But it's just this weird squared cross. Like there's no elongated. It's very tiny.
It is. The bottom part of the cross needs to be longer.
Yeah,
it's almost like a plus sign.
Yeah,
like it's very minimally a cross. But when Charlie holds it, it works this time. And
it's also blinged out. By the way.
I just don't know how. This
is another backstory that we don't go into. Apparently, he does have faith, but he's never spoken about it. It's never been a part of the conversation.
Which is cool because what is that, right? You have to have faith. Does that mean you have to be baptized? Does that mean you have to be practicing? What does that mean? You have to believe that this cross will work. You have to believe in a higher power. You have to have faith, right?
Gotta have faith.
You gotta have faith. Oh, I could touch your body. Like you. Anyway, so Charlie makes kind of two full-hearted statements twice against Jerry. When he does that and Jerry starts, right, he's like, shit, and I got him. And what does he tell Peter? He's like, we're going to make it, or we're going to get out of this. We got him, something like that. And here comes Billy Cole. I take it back. Billy Cole is not the name of an R&B singer. Billy Cole is the name of a pimp. Because he proceeds to backhand slap Charlie so hard off of the banister that he falls off onto the floor. It scares the shit out of Peter Vincent so much that he takes off. I never can reconcile with that part in the movie. Peter and Charlie are supposed to be tag teaming this moment. And Billy slaps Charlie off. Charlie's on the floor, falling off of the second floor, and Peter takes off.
Well, I mean, when the shit gets real, it gets real, man.
I understand, but at least go get your dude and take him out of the house, too.
Fuck that. There's vampires in the house.
Wow. So if I got slap Lance...
I'm gone. I'm taking Charles and I'm out.
Why is Charles there?
Well, we're in the house right now, so...
Yes. But it's not all just a runaway. He actually just goes next door looking for Charlie's mother. Mrs. Brewster! And I love this small part in Roddy's character chase. He's like looking for Charlie's mom, and then just grabs a phone, and then the seriousness in his face, and he grabs it and he presses 0. He's like, operator, get me the... And he sees that the phone line has been cut. Goes upstairs to check on Charlie's mother. Someone's in the bed wearing a Raggedy Ann yarn wig. And it's just like, if I'm someone with no context and I see someone is hiding under the bed and they're wearing that red yarn wig, I'm like, that's not somebody that I want to mess with. That's obviously not his mom, because holy shit, right?
Right.
So, yeah. But obviously, he checks on the person in the bed, and it ends up being Lance's favorite character,
Evil
Ed, who has a fight with Peter Vincent. And one of the rules, Lillian, of this movie is that not only bats can they shapeshift into, but also
werewolves.
Okay, I say wolves.
This is actually a controversy. This is a conversation among people that talk about this movie. Is it a werewolf? Is it the transformation of the wolf? I posed this question to you to see what your answer was earlier. So explain it to everybody, Danny. Why does he look like a werewolf? And why is it the most excruciating, maybe death ever?
I'll agree with that second statement. Absolutely. Ed does change into a wolf. A wolf. Okay? God, it's like saying golf. I guess something's stuck in your throat, right?
We've said wolf a lot in the last few episodes.
Yeah, and you know what? Awesome. Because we'll get there. Anyway, I was just taking that moment to point at the Teen Wolf poster that's behind me. Here's the point. Ed turns into a wolf, but you have to transform, right? From person to wolf. There is a transformation in between that. But when he charges at Peter, he's a wolf. Just a regular wolf. And when he charges, Peter basically impales him with a leg from a desk, a hallway desk. And it, penetrates him a lot. And he falls over a lot. And he falls over the second floor railing and onto the ground. And you see a very uncomfortable scene. Lance is right. What you see is, I believe, in my heart of hearts, that Ed is now trying to transform back into himself, but cannot because he is slowly dying. So you are going to be witness to the slowest transformation scenes of a wolf back into a person. So in between that, yes, there is wear of it. There's the wear part of the wolf. And so when he does that, it's slow. It's set. It's just like, it's a transformation scene, but it's also he's dying in the moment, right? And it's breaking Peter Vincent's heart because he sees Ed, who's he's just a kid, right? He sees him basically morph back into his innocent self, and tears start kind of welling up in Peter Vincent's eyes as he's like, I did this, and like I was just trying to protect myself, and maybe he was like, I could have saved him or whatever. Honestly, I don't think it was going to go that way. I think Ed was very much into the transformation that he was in, being this like ghoul. But yeah, that's my explanation for why you see that werewolf part.
Again, they're just showing off the skills of the effects. This is one of the bigger points of it. I just looked up something really quick. It was, when did Silver Bullet come out? Because that's another big transformation. Werewolf movie. Unfortunately turns into Here Comes the Bear's mascot in that movie. They came out the same year, 1985. So it's just the effects team decided to go one route, and anyway. Yeah. It's a cool transformation. He looks like a werewolf to me. Probably one of the better ones of the 80s, to be honest. Yeah. So I give it up for that. One of the other big ones is I'm losing my mind. Billy's death.
Right. Also, what is he, Lance?
I was going to ask you, Danny. You're the pro here.
Because I have my own thoughts, but I would love to get someone else's, view, perspective of what you think Billy is.
I had to look it up online because Billy gets stabbed in the heart with a stake. So the idea is that he's a vampire because his death begins from that point, right? Because he gets shot a few times.
He gets shot a few times in the chest and then one time in the head.
One time in the head. Then he still keeps coming. Then he's got a tweaked out eye, which, by the way, is another fun fact. The contacts for all of the actors in this were actually just hard plastic that they just carved out. They put 2 in the actor's eyes for this role. He kept running into the stairs, falling over. So that's why he has one wonky, crooked eye and the other one's normal, so that they could finally get through the shoot and do this scene where he keeps coming back to life. So anyway, he's got shot in the eye. His eye's kind of tweaked out. He gets stabbed in the heart and starts his transition. He begins to melt. Billy has his own weird death. There's no indication totally that he's a vampire other than the fact that he got stabbed in the heart with a stake. So I don't know what it is. Somebody online, the most popular thing they say is he's a golem.
Yeah, I think he's a ghoul. I think he's like a Renfield because he operates during the day, so he can't be a vampire, even if he is partial. That's one of the most mainstays of being a vampire is that you cannot be exposed to sunlight. So he has to exist in a world that he can move around in the day. So I think if anything, he's like a Renfield ghoul sort of thing.
And again, this is the identity crisis of the movie. I'm like, what are we doing? Because there's confusion about the werewolf thing. There's confusion about what this kind of monster ghoul is, if it's part vampire or not. And then we have an actual vampire, 100% fruit bat. So that's kind of the confusion. There's a lot of it, but it was an absolute show off of the effects team and what they were allowed to do, what they could do. Don't forget, Amy is still locked up in a room. She's been seduced 100%. She's been bitten.
Jerry's not going to kill Amy. He wants her to be one of his wives, essentially. He wants her to stay with him and live with him. And he makes Charlie, by locking him in the room with her, he makes Charlie see what is going on as a way to like be that ultimate cruelty. But, you know, all is well that ends well, because Peter Vincent, along with his wits and his quickness, is going to get Charlie out of the room and save Amy by the rule that he says everything's been the same as it was in the movies. As long as we killed Dandridge by dawn, the transformation of Amy will not happen. So that is their concentration. And as dawn is coming, which is funny because like dawn will kill him if you have him in the sunlight. So maybe that, you know, kind of cancels itself out. But the fight is happening on the second floor, where a lot of this has kind of happened. We see finally, not just for her noise, but we see through transformation of a practical effect, a Jerry Dandridge turning into the bat. That if that's a fruit bat, I don't ever want to fucking see a fruit bat in my life, because that thing is massive. It's monstrous. Trying to bite Peter Vincent, trying to bite Charlie. It's trying to kill them, but eventually it's just like, you know what? The sun is coming up. I need to return down to the crypt. And by returning down there, that's where the final fight happens between Charlie, Peter, Jerry, and Amy, who has now going to show us the 100% poster art that we see when she's got the big mouth and the huge jaw. And it is now, when you put two and two together, you're like, oh shit, it's Amy as the vampire that's on the poster. That's what we see. So Charlie doesn't want to kill her, obviously, because it's Amy, and knowing that if he killed Jerry before, which is always funny because, like, that's also what I love about this movie, because it falls back into a vampire movie, which the vampires were getting killed a lot because they were just in their coffins, waiting. You know, even in Lost Boys, when they're hanging upside down, you're dead meat. They're just like there for the ripe for the picking. So, as Charlie is navigating not being killed by Amy, there goes Peter to essentially kill by traditional stake through the chest of Jerry, who's he just went to his coffin. I just find that so funny because you're like, you're in a fight. You're fighting. You know these fucks are gonna come after you, and you just like, you know what? Sorry, time out. Base. I'm already at base. You can't touch me. I'm in my coffin.
He's
and just
holding
like
the door closed.
I know. He just like goes to bed. And I'm just like, that's not it, man. You're gonna lose if you just go into the coffin. They're gonna find you. They already killed your bodyguard. But that also adds to the compassion that you kind of find yourself having for Jerry. He had that ultimate goal of wanting to find, I guess, love or that companionship with Amy, but they get him. They kill him. The sun is out. They start breaking windows in the basement. It essentially is too much for him to handle. But I will say one of the scariest scenes is that him as that's that receding hairline Dorian from Mask looking version of himself. He's hopping in between the lights, and he's just kind of like making like because he's navigating it. He's like, there's these beams of light, but I'm navigating. I'm getting through it. And then eventually a huge burst of light shoots him into the wall there, and he gets pretty much roasted. And as he's roasting and you see the green flame and fire, he's disintegrating, great melt away practical effects. He's disintegrating, and he screams out for Amy as a last ditch effort to just remind us all that he just was looking for love. Blows up, gets destroyed. Amy is saved because she returns to herself, and she's in her. She was like looking very seductive in this white dress. She had like her hair was all poofed up. Yeah, she had a Melina face from Mortal Kombat, but she had the puffy nipples for some reason, and I think those were just like added as a way to be like, she's like, "Don't you want me, Charlie?" And Charlie's like, "No, I don't want all that shit." But when they kill Jerry, she returns back to sweet Amy. Sweet Amy.
So there's a couple facts about this, actually mostly about Amy. The chest plate was actually fake. So her big chest, and it's funny because Amanda has actually taken that to conventions and let people touch it and hold it while she's signing autographs. Very weird, but she's totally embraced what's going on there. Also, the huge shark mouth grin, whatever, was actually a request from Tom Holland to his FX team. There was no budget left and said, "Give me what you got." And one of his creators went over a weekend, went home, created this thing, brought it back, said, "This is the best I can do with no money left. This is all I have. Please don't showcase it too much. Just kind of show it in the dark," sort of a thing. Turns out to be featured in the entire finale and shows up on the poster art. That's like the most fun fact I think I've ever come across. The fact that is the iconic thing that we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, the poster art. And it turns out to be the finale. And it was something that somebody created that they're like, "This is shit. I don't want this to be seen. Don't put this on my resume." Iconic.
It was great. It was fantastic. I don't think, sure, you find things that you're going to attach yourself to. Like, had we seen something else, that would have been like, oh, that would be the thing we would know as normal. We wouldn't know what the other thing is. But this is the thing that we know as the poster art. This is the thing as we know as that big jaw moment of scary Amy vampire-esque. And it's awesome because they feature it in the poster and it adds to it. It adds to the charm of the entire flick. And just to round it out, we're back at the start. We're back in Charlie's room. He's in there with Amy. He's in there with his window open with the wind blowing through. He's in there watching the Fright Night, which has been brought back because apparently they just decided, hey, you know what, Peter? We'll bring you back, but you can't show your movies anymore. You got to show the new shit.
Yeah.
And it's cool because, can you imagine? You fight off the forces of evil with a ghost host, with your horror-thon host who you've looked up to, you've loved to watch, and then he goes back to his deal, and now you're making out with your girlfriend there in your room. It's all back to normal, and then he gives you a shout out on the TV where he says, "I thought that would put the vampires to rest for a while." Leans forward and goes, "Right, Charlie." Wink, and Charlie's just like, "Psst. Oh, Peter, I'd be losing my goddamn mind."
It's such a happy ending.
It is beautiful. It is a beautiful ending because what is the movie he's going to show? It's like it's an alien it's an outer space horror movie. And I love it because it's still Peter. He's still going to be himself. He's like, "I do not star in this film, but here it is." Right? Charlie gets up to turn the TV off and then just, gives a glance on over across the way to look into the neighbor's house where it's been abandoned, of course, and it's for sale again, and sees glowing eyes for like 2 seconds, looks back and is looking, and Amy is like, "Charlie, is everything all right?" And as he's looking, he sees, and I feel from what he says, it's like, honestly, there is nothing wrong because the music kind of starts and it's uplifting music. He's like, "Nothing." Jumps on the bed, and maybe they're going to get down to it, and the camera goes back to the shot of looking across the way into the blackness of that open window of the neighbor's house where Jerry used to be, and you see glowing eyes again, and then of course Evil Ed lets out his scream, and that's how the movie ends.
I thought you were going to do the scream right now.
I did it once.
it's a happy ending. It leaves you on a cliffhanger somewhat. There was an original ending that did not get shot that I actually would have liked a little bit better. It's the fact that Peter Vincent is doing his show, and you kind of have a hesitation, like, well, I guess he goes back because they wanted him back. He goes back because he's like, I know what'll get viewers if I transition into a vampire. And he does on TV. I don't know if it's live at this point, but he transitions into a vampire and still gives a shout out to Charlie, but it's more of a I'm coming for you now. Ooh, that would have been a cool more horror ending in my book.
Yep.
I do like what we got. I'm not complaining about that. I just think it would have been a really cool, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know,
that would
not everybody
cool.
won, you know?
Yeah. Everybody dies at the end or is going to die. I do like small things throughout the movie that just like after a third, fourth rewatch, and I mean by this time I'm on my 20th, honestly.
Yeah.
You pick up little things like the mom saying, "Oh, I got to pick up the 3 a.m. shift. It's just a nightmare. It's bad for my skin." So you're like, "Okay, the mom's not going to be home," sort of thing.
Yeah.
Little things like that. I think I'm still in the dark as to what Billy Cole is. I've kind of hovered, and I think I'm going to land on Ghoul, Gollum, whatever. Something that's otherworldly, but also not a vampire fully. That's pretty much still where I'm at as far as what is my main hang-up. But overall, this movie freaking rocks. I love it. I live for it. It is one of my favorite. It is the quintessential Danny catalog of horror movies that I will always have. I'll put it up against anything. My absolute favorite vampire movie, and that is saying something because for the longest time it was The Lost Boys. But let me just be honest. The Lost Boys and Fright Night kind of take turns, just like the way Jason, Friday the 13th, 3 and 4 take turns as what is my favorite vampire movie. But right now it has always been for a long time Fright Night.
Fright Night. Please add that to your Fright Fest every single year. It's actually going to be on AMC's Fright Fest. It just got added. So you can watch it now if you have AMC Plus, AMC at all, AMC On Demand, all of that. It'll be up there till November. So
woohoo! We did it. I'm so glad we finally got to. I hope we did it justice. I hope I did it justice.
God, if we didn't, I swear we'd have no more time for it. Danny, how many fangs do you give Fright Night?
I'm going to give Fright Night. Surprisingly, folks, it does rank pretty low on my 5. I'm going to give it 5 fangs. Come on, get the frig out of here. 5 full fangs. 5 Evil Ed fangs. 5 Amy's open face fangs. How's that?
Totally. I'm not going to quite agree, but I do like the film. It's in the upper echelon. It's a staple for Halloween. I'll give it a 4. I'll give 4 fangs. But it is up there. I really like it. Again, go back to my teaching class. You're a teacher. You got credentials. I'll get them if I need them. If there's ever a horror movie class, this one is day one, 80s era. So that's Danny. I'm Lance reminding you to
lock your doors.
Bolt your windows.
And oh, you're so cool, Brewster.
And please join us next time in our Slasher's Paradise.
Right, Charlie. Hey, did you see anything you like?
Thanks for watching Slasher's Paradise tonight. Please hit the like and subscribe button and turn on all of your notifications so you know the next time we post a video or go live.
And if you'd like an audio-only version of the show, search for us on wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. We're on all the platforms. We just ask that you leave a rate and review of 5 stars. And if you don't know what to write in the review section, put a recommendation of a horror movie you would love for Lance and I to talk about.
Yes, and if you'd like to get the full experience of Slasher's Paradise, including videos and audio all together, go to deadcandy.com, that's DEDCANDY, or go to youtube.com/deadcandy. Here's to you guys.
This is Slasher's Paradise! Sorry, I had to work that in.
And I'm going to drink on that.
Blended Canadian.